Okay.
Count to hit to, excuse me, count to 10 in your head and then you can start.
Good evening. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee for Tuesday, May 12th. We are virtual, obviously. All members of our committee are present, including Kyle Sikora. Welcome aboard, Kyle.
Thank you.
All right, first of all, order, public comment period. Any public comment coming in? Any public comment? Any public comment? All right, next item, discussion and consideration of approving the Class A, Class B, and Class C fermented malt beverage, intoxicating liquor and wine licenses for the period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, along with a reduction in fees. We've all had a chance to look over that list. Lori, from what I saw, there's no problems with any of those applicants.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Steve, any comments on this?
Yeah, we had talked about the fact of, we received a letter, we received several letters from our local bars and restaurants.
Right.
They're pretty much cut and paste from the league, Tavern League.
Right.
And these are going out to all taverns in the state of Wisconsin and thus resulting in getting to the local communities. They are requesting that the city look at the prospect of charging only the minimum for a liquor license, Class B liquor license. And the minimum is, I believe, Lori, I think it's $50 or $55.
Right, the maximum we can charge is 500. The minimum we can charge is 50.
And right now we're currently charging what?
500.
And so again, this has been our normal policy. My recommendation is that if we're going to help them out, not to go as low as the $50 in which they're requesting, but give them credit for the 8 weeks in which, or 8 or 10 weeks, I can't remember what we figured out, Lori. But
When
for
they
the
were
weeks,
closed.
what's that?
I said, when they were closed.
Exactly. So
10 weeks.
10 weeks, thank you. So this would take them out to the 26th of May. So anyways, our recommendation is to, again, give them credit for those 10 weeks in their 2021 license.
I think that's pretty fair. Steve, what community, what am I thinking of? Somebody reduced their fees already. What community was that? You recall?
Oh, there's dozens of them.
Is there?
Many of them have reduced it to that, again, that minimum $50.
Right.
So
I get the West Bend News, and I read it somewhere in the West Bend News, I think, that one of the neighboring communities or Washington County communities did this, but you don't recall which one it was?
There's quite a few of them. I know Germantown was looking at, I don't know what they end up doing, but like I said, I could go across the board and I bet you're going to find, I want to say Kewaskum was one, but I could get a list of probably 20, 25 just in this immediate area that did a major cut to that.
Sure. I think what you're proposing is pretty fair. All right, discussion by committee. What do you think, fellas?
One question is, what is the reasoning behind doing them full maximum?
We've charged the maximum for as long as I can remember. We've always charged the full 500. That's for a 1 year.
I also got a full, oh, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, Kyle, and since Scott is joining us, there is a background check. There is a check that we have to do to all the bars that request, or restaurants and bars that request. So there is some time, staff time involved in this. So it's not just like handing a sheet of paper over for no reason. So again, this whole thing has been going well before I got here, but again, it's not rare for a community to charge the maximum.
Sure. I was contacted by a local bar owner, and he requested that we dropped the licensing fees across the board. He also suggested that we help out with the bartending license themselves to help out the actual employees, not just the owners. I was hoping to get that also dropped.
We'd have to handle that, Steve, as a separate issue, right?
Yeah, Laura, you want to talk about that?
I wanted to go back to the fees for the liquor license. I belong to the Wisconsin Municipal Clerks Association. And according to our internet service there, the fees are all over the board. There's a lot of people that aren't reducing at all. Some are reducing to $50 and some are prorating. It's just a matter of each municipality is different. Like I said, a lot of them aren't reducing fees at all. Most of the places have talked about bartenders that they will not be reducing those fees.
I think what Steve is proposing is pretty fair, that they've been off for 10 weeks. Hopefully they'll be opening up soon within the next couple of weeks. So I think that's a pretty fair proposal, but Joe Kohler, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Like anything else, you want to be fair with the times they can do business. Those bars and restaurants that can and have served as carryout, I don't think we've had too many of them here. I would say we have to revisit those, but for the most part, I think, yeah, it's only fair. If we've always, our standard is to charge the full amount. Let's just take that times the 10 weeks. I'm looking at the agenda and they had the math on there. So you're basically taking $530 minus about $102 off of their fee, equaling is it going to be, $400 or something to that effect. So
Sure.
$429. I mean, I think that's fair. That's, if they can't use it, then we shouldn't be charging them for it. And I get that part. And I would be in agreement to the proposal we had here. When it comes down to the liquor stores and other packaged, who sells packaged liquor, and
They've been open.
they should have the full fee.
Right. Joe Fulop, any comment?
Yeah, so I'm fine with the reduction as well. I don't know if 10 weeks is strong enough, right? Because it's going to take some time for them to build back up their business if they open, because they're going to open slow and reduce. So maybe prorated even beyond that, but I'm fine with the reduction as to whatever you propose.
Well, Lori, it's 10 weeks thus far, right?
I believe we went, Steve, what did we go from,
We're-
like the 13th of March? Was
Yeah, we're
it?
technically in week number 9 right now.
Yeah,
But
I
who's counting?
think- yeah, I think the situation was that we were taking from St. Patrick's Day, which was the last day at 5 o'clock, and moving it appropriate number 10 weeks out, which would take you to like the 26th.
I agree with Joe that I think we might need to extend this a couple weeks past to get things rolling, especially with limited occupancy laws.
Sure. And even today, we don't know when they're officially opening where they can have people going into the bar and actually sitting at the bar. Right now, they can't do that. So that it might take another 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, technically we closed out to end of May, right? So you add instead of 12, instead of 10, what does it go up to 12 maybe, or
12.
11?
Sure. Well, 12 weeks would be pretty fair.
Yeah, so that takes it to 375. Is that my math?
That's good math. All right, any other questions or comments? If not, I'm going to look for a motion on this. First of all, we need a motion to approve the licenses and then another motion to approve whatever we have just discussed. on the
Motion.
I'm
fees.
looking to approve the licenses.
Second.
Okay, Joe? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, discussion and consideration of renewing a note with the sycamore tree and preparing a revised note to be executed with the sycamore tree. Steve, this is your bag. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we've had a loan with Sycamore Tree, a daycare service over on Wilson or off of Wilson, I believe it is. Anyways, again, that we have the loan has been ongoing and their loan came up And so they requested to renew that loan. And so as you see in the proposal, we are presenting the idea of renewing the note at a 5% interest rate, which would, again, goes back to the city for, again, issuing this note. So the recommendation by staff is to renew the note at that 5%.
Steve, if I can refresh the financial end of this thing, we loaned them $210,000 back in 2010, so 10 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. It's
Again, API moved out of that building,
right. We inherited it.
and then the city again borrowed them the money. Again, they've been regularly paying on it. They've been relatively good at doing that, and so with a relatively low risk, they have requested to get this to be extended, and so at 5%, we felt it was a reasonable rate of return for us.
Do they currently owe that $187,909.75? Is that what they owe? In the upper left-hand corner of the
Yeah.
note, there's a figure of
Yes.
160,000. What does that represent, that 160,000? Upper left corner.
Yeah, so that's I'm assuming that's your principal.
That's the principal. Okay. So the principal plus the interest will come out to 187,909.75. Sound right?
I would have to, yeah, I would have to confer with our attorney who wrote this up, but I believe that's correct.
One other thing that doesn't bother me, but I'm concerned about, they're paying $11.27 a month for 60 months. That's their current, or going to be their payment, $11.27
That's correct.
for 60 months. That equates to $67,620.
Yep.
So in 5 years from now, we'll be right back doing this again, probably.
They'll be down to 137,492 owed.
All right, so they're gradually going to do this, but on 5-year increments.
That's what they requested.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Discussion by committee.
Yeah, I got a question.
Joe?
Why are we doing this for the sycamore tree, and what about every other one of the daycare centers in the town, in the city?
Unfortunately, that's way beyond my time here with the city. I
Not mine.
don't know how you ever got into this. It could have been a community development block grant loan or something of that nature. I don't know how they must have applied at one time for a loan and received that loan. So I don't know the history behind it.
I know some history.
Excellent.
The building was built by API. API is currently out in our industrial park, Automating Peripherals Incorporated. Once they built their new facility out in the industrial park, that building was sitting empty, and they ended up donating that building to the city of Hartford. So we sat there saying, okay, what are we going to do with this building? And the police department looked at it, the rec department looked at it, everybody in the city, every city department head looked at it and said, no, we really don't have any use for this. So we ended up putting it up for sale. And the Sycamore Tree, which was an up and coming daycare center, they were doing quite well in Hartford. They came along and says, we'd like to purchase the building. And I believe, Steve, correct me if we're wrong, somebody else is holding a mortgage on the building. We've got a second mortgage with this note.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So that's kind of the history of it all. It was donated to the city of Hartford.
So I guess my question is, when did the city of Hartford become a bank? And why do we want to be a bank?
You got this one, Steve.
Again, I was not here when you first took this on, so I can't answer that question. As far as why do we want to continue, 5% is better than what we're getting with any investment right now. So
Mhm.
I think we're doing okay with that investment. Obviously, with reward comes risk. If they would stop, wouldn't be able to pay for their mortgage, then obviously we'd have to take the normal steps to recoup our money.
So with the current situation that we're having here and a lot of businesses closing, I'm not sure where Sycamore Tree's sitting with enrollment and their ability to continue to run business. Where are they sitting financially?
Again, I can't tell you that. I mean, I don't know for the fact of, our attorney was again the one who looked further into this. So I couldn't tell you if you actually got a performer from them or a profit and loss statement or any of that kind of thing.
Is Dennis Hagee on board?
Joe Phillips got a question.
Joe,
Yeah, so
go ahead.
so wouldn't we do this, wouldn't we do the same thing that any loan agency would do with respect to checking their financials, you know, per Kohler's concerns as well?
Again, I cannot tell you if our attorney has. I can definitely try to get him on the phone right now, but I do not know the background he went into for this.
Either way, we're still carrying the note, right? This isn't the second, this is the primary.
Again, I would have to verify with him.
I think this is a secondary. There's got to be a primary mortgage holder out there, whether it's one of our local banks or I don't know who it is, but
So we sold
You
it.
You asked if I was in
Well over.
attendance, Wayne. I am here.
yeah, you got some history on that building, Dennis, that you could add to this discussion?
I believe we are the second on the note. And exactly what fund this came out of, I don't exactly recall. But it was from one of the city's loan funds. And anyone would be eligible to ask for this, but Sycamore Tree is the one that did ask for it and was eligible for it. And helped us to get out from under that building and put it to a good use. And actually it was built by the restaurant company, not by API.
You're right, Dennis. Yeah, it was the Woodridge Supper Club.
Woodridge, that's correct.
Woodridge Supper Club, and then API bought it after Woodridge went out of business.
Right. So just which fund we did this through, I don't know, but I don't believe it's exactly a direct loan from the city. It's from a fund that the city has to offer loans out of. So which one in particular, I don't know. That I don't remember.
All right, I've got Ian on the phone right now, so maybe he can answer some of your questions. Ian, do you want to talk about, again, this process?
So we had previously entered into, this would be the second renewal, so the third promissory note for Sycamore Tree. I believe that building was donated to the city.
Yes.
It was
Right.
sold to Sycamore Tree around 2010. This is essentially just renewing on similar terms. I did add a little bit. They had some weirdness with payments 2 years ago or whatever. So I added a late fee to the promissory note, but otherwise it's just a straight renewal of the promissory note. We already have a mortgage on the property. I didn't talk specifically about viability with their president of their board, who's Mike Kenneth, one of the other attorneys in Hartford. But he didn't express any concerns about renewing the note. And they did make their payment this month. So.
Any other questions?
Are they currently in operation? Are daycare centers open or are they closed or are they limited capacity?
they're-
What's
So speaking from personal experience,
okay?
daycare centers can be open. They actually waived a lot of the requirements as far as caps on numbers of kids to make sure that they could handle essential workers. I know that some daycare centers we had one close on us because they just didn't have enough kids. The Y in West Bend had gone down from their normal 3 sites to 1 site. But that's starting to rebound. And I believe Sycamore Tree had cut off, I mean, they do a lot of the school age programs as well. So I'm sure those have been affected to some degree. But my understanding is they are still taking, toddlers and infants.
So.
All right,
I
any
got-
other questions for Ian?
Yeah, I got a question. Why did you
Cool.
add just shy of 28,000 onto the principal? Because when I look at the.
Did I
when
what?
look at- it looks
Joe,
like
can you turn
somebody-
your volume up?
Is that better?
A little bit,
Steve, can you just repeat his question?
sure.
So my question is, on the amortization table, it says the principal is 160 and some change, and interest is 44 and some change, but we're giving them a promissory note of 187 plus interest, right?
So I believe I adjusted the promissory note. The promissory note is only recites the principal. I thought I had updated the promissory note to the current principal level. When I believe I had, maybe I didn't hit save with that. But the promissory note should recite the current principal balance, which is like right around 160.
Yeah, 163.22.
Yes, yep. So that's the principal balance. The interest isn't set because if they make additional payments, then their amount of interest they would pay would be different. So we don't recite that specifically as an amount on the promissory note. That was just an estimate for how much would be paid on that amortization.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Any other questions for Ian?
If I could, what original pot of money did this loan come from? What was the original?
I don't think it did not come from an original pot of money. I believe the API donated the building to the city, and we sold it to Sycamore Tree on basically on an initial 5-year note, renewing every 5 years, which is pretty standard commercial practice right now.
Oh, okay, so we didn't actually loan any money.
No, we just
Okay.
didn't make them pay up front. We're basically their mortgage holder right now. And we do have there is a recorded mortgage that's been recorded for 10 years. I didn't include that in the packet just because it's already off the record.
All right,
So we-
I recall that.
So we are the primary mortgage holder, Ian? There's no other bank involved?
We are the primary mortgage holder, correct?
Thank you. Joe?
So we're just basically saying that that right now it's worth $160,000. And we never paid for that money, and we're just gonna get 5% back every month or whatever, right? It's really what it's
Yep,
coming down.
They're
So,
making incremental payments and they're paying 5%, and that at some point in time, I mean, now I will tell you that 5% is probably higher than commercial lending right now.
Right.
So if they wanted to buy us out, they could, but they elected to renew the note and just roll it over at the 5%.
What kind of, so we get this money coming in. What do we, obviously, it's now it's an income or something, right? Because we got the property for free. We have a promissory note out there for $160,000, and now we're collecting money against it. What's it costing the city for this transaction? I know we're making money on this part, but what about the rest of it? Where's our break even? Does anybody know that?
I mean, I think it's all income to us.
So we
We
don't have to
get the
pay,
capital gain from the sale of the building, and we get the interest from the mortgage payments.
It's an investment for us at 5%, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially currently. I mean, it's and at this stage of the game, we have plenty of equity in the property. If there's a default and it ever went to a foreclosure, there's plenty of equity in the property right now. We would be pretty well protected if we had to foreclose.
All right, any other questions or comments?
thank you, Ian, for picking up the call and answering these questions. It did
Yes.
clarify a lot, and it did be able
Yes.
to I think we're able to
Right.
make a decision moving forward opposed to tabling it any longer. Thank
Right.
you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments?
So where is this going? Just the general fund?
Steve?
Oh, I'm sorry.
He doesn't want to look at us.
I'm just here to use the phone.
He's not on the phone anymore, Steve.
No, it goes, it's a revenue back into the general fund.
All right, any other questions or comments? If not, I'm going to look for a motion regarding this note.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joel. Is there a second?
So there,
Second.
Second by Kyle. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, discussion and consideration of authorizing appropriate city officials to establish a current communications officer eligibility list to fill the vacated 50% part-time communications officer position. Chief McFarland is with us. Chief, seems like we've been here before.
Evening, everyone. Yes, we have, of course. The last recruit that we had didn't make it through our training program. And so we're looking at creating an eligibility list. I actually have 3 people that I'd like to place on that list at this time. We've gone through pretty much all of the training, recruiting process rather. So this is just asking for authorization for staff to establish this eligibility list so that we can then go ahead and hire somebody off that list. And then tomorrow evening, I'll have this in front of the Police and Fire Commission, and hopefully I'll make a selection then the following day, which would be May 14th.
All right, any questions or comments for Chief? Like I said, we've been through this before, so any questions or comments? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I motion to approve.
Motion by Joel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kyle. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item is adjournment. I'll look for a motion to adjourn
Motion to adjourn.
by Joel. Second.
Wayne.
Second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? We are